Go back to these upper GI reactivities. So reactions that are either in the actual esophagus, like eosinophilic esophagitis, or reactions in the tummy, like FPIES, where they end up vomiting. If it is food reactivity, what we're seeing here is that either when the baby is consuming the food, and that can be an actual solid food, that can be formula, that can be breast milk that has dietary proteins that have transferred from your diet to your milk that baby's consuming, and either they are having a reaction real time in their esophagus, like the EOE response is typically a real-time response in the esophagus where the food protein is being misidentified as a threat. For the esophagus, then, the reactions that we usually see are sometimes gagging, there's discomfort, they may have reflux where they bring some up, they may even have vomiting, there can be inflammation in the esophagus. The interesting thing with eosinophilic esophagitis is that it can be typically tested for to confirm that that's the issue. The downside to that test is that oftentimes, not always, there's also a blood test, but oftentimes it's a biopsy, which is not a fun process to do. I have gone through the ENT journey with my youngest kiddo, and so as they're scoping and stuff, I can't say that it was my favorite experience I've ever had. But they'll go in and they'll do a little biopsy, and what they're looking for is those eosinophils to be reactive. They're looking for that specifically. And so the two things with those types of tests then is one, the kiddo needs to be in a reactive state in order for that to come back positive, meaning like if you're at baseline for an extended period of time and then you go get tested for EOE, it may or may not show positive correctly because you have done all this work and been on this elimination diet. And two, the thing with the biopsy is it just tells you, yes, your baby has eosinophilic esophagitis. It doesn't say, and these are the trigger foods. So it confirms, yes, you're dealing with food reactivity. This is an issue. It doesn't say like, and it's peanuts and cow's milk and shellfish. And so for many families, they may or may not choose to like go down that biopsy route because they're like, I already know my baby has reactivity. It's not super helpful at this stage for us to have that like official biopsy yet. Maybe down the road it might be. And so we're gonna continue on the path because it would be the same whether or not we get this confirmation. So some of the things that can mimic these responses are certainly if there's an illness, right? So if they have an illness and they have a tummy bug and they're vomiting a bunch, or they're really congested, or they're really struggling. It may seem like they're struggling to swallow, but it's because they have an illness, not because they have food reactivities. Another thing that can mimic these issues is, as I mentioned with my youngest kiddo, anatomical problems. One example is laryngomalacia, where it's essentially where the larynx is too big for their body. And so the not quite scientific term that I hear a lot is that it's like floppy, it's too big, and so it like closes, it causes a squeaky sound when they're trying to breathe and the larynx kind of closes and they kind of squeak. And I have videos of my youngest doing that if that's helpful for you to kind of like hear and see. And so laryngomalacia is one anatomical issue that can mimic food reactivity because as they're breastfeeding or as they're feeding, then like if that closes, they might pop off of the breast, they may struggle to feed, they may have some reflux. And so navigating those two things at the same time can be super interesting. Another thing that can mimic upper GI reactivity is anatomical